Good day, everyone. In this video discussion, we are going to solve random problem. So this is for our review problem set number 3. Okay, let's start with the number 1. Okay. Find the first derivative. I have prepared 5 problems today. Okay, find the first derivative of the given function f of x equivalent sa square root of x to be multiplied by the quantity of x cubed plus 1. Okay, first, we can solve this actually by two methods or using two methods. The first one is using the product rule. We can just uh, let this one as our u, okay, and this one as our v. Okay, so this is our v. We can do that. But we can also distribute itong x, square root of x sa dalawang term para mas madali, no? But again, you can choose the product rule or you can also choose this one. So itong distribution na lang yung gagamitin kong method para mas madali. Okay? Although similar lang din yung magiging result niyan, no? That is equivalent sa, okay, f of x, gawin natin, i-distribute natin to. 'Di ba yung square root of x is the same thing as x raised to the power of 1 half. So x raised to the power of 1 half to be multiplied by x cubed plus 1 times x raised to the power of 1 half. Okay? And using the exponent rule, itong x tsaka x, since the same base yan, therefore yung exponent is maa-add lang yan, no? Then plus x raised to the power of 1 half. Therefore, hindi pa tayo nag-derive class, ha? Hindi pa tayo nag-derive. So we are just simply distributing muna the value of square root of x. And then we have 1 half plus 3, and that is the same thing as, etong 3 kasi 6 over 2 yan. Plus 1, magiging 7 over 2, or 7 half. Okay? And then plus x raised to the power of 1 half. Then this is the time we can take the first derivative of this one. So f prime of x, and that is equivalent sa x. Okay, you can bring down 7 over 2 x, then 7 over 2 minus 1. Plus, also you can do the same, 1 half, then we have here x, then 1 half, you subtract 1. And therefore, we have here 7 halves, x, 7 half minus 1. 1 is the same thing as 2 over 2, so 7 minus 2 would be 5. 5 over 2, okay? 5 over 2 plus ito 1 half, then 1 half minus 1, obviously that is negative 1 half. Okay, so therefore our first derivative is to make it simple, we can change the position of the negative exponent so that it becomes a positive. Therefore our final answer for this problem would be 7 over 2 x raised to the power of 5 over 2 plus 1 over 2 square root of x, or simply x raised to the power of 1 half. Okay, o pwede din square root na lang. Okay, basically this is your answer for this specific problem. Okay, I hope that we're able to follow the solution. Okay, let me check. Okay, that's correct. Or you can also express your answer, no? Pwede din ganito. We have here 7 over 2. Pwede itong gawin nating square root of x raised to the power of 5 plus 1 over 2 square root of x. Pwede din ito, class, ha? The same thing lang yan sila. Okay? Or pwede din gawin 7 over 2. Ito, ganito. Pwede din ito. I-box ko na lang din. Okay? Check ko lang, ha, kung okay pa rin ba yung mic ko. Okay, so far okay naman. Then, proceed tayo dito sa problem number 2. Okay, we still need to find the derivative of the given function y equivalent sa x sine then cube root of x. For this problem, hindi na natin ma-distribute yung x, of course, kasi we are one term lang dito. Then sa kasi Doon sa etong first problem, two terms yan. So, x naman lahat. We can just distribute the x, no? Or square root of x. Dito, isang term lang. So, therefore, we can use, the most appropriate method for this is to use product rule. Okay? For product rule, you can let x, okay, you can let u be your x and v be your sine cube root of x. Then that is u dv plus v du. Diba? That is our derivative. Okay, kukunin na natin yung value niyan. U is x, derivative of v, okay, yung derivative ng sine cube root of x. So, yung sine cube root of x, that is cosine, no? Cosine cube root of x. Okay, cube root of x. And ano yung derivative ng cube root of x? 'Di ba yung kasi ano 'yan? Du, magiging chain rule 'yan, no? So yung cube root of x, the same 'yan sa x raised to the power of 1/3. So we can have 1/3 x, then 1/3 minus 1. Yan yung magiging dv natin. Ito yung dv natin, ha. So ginawa natin chain rule 'yan, ha. Ginawa natin ng chain rule. Okay, this is our dv. Okay. Lang color. dv yan. Okay, plus yung v natin, copy lang natin yung sine cube root of x and derivative ng u natin obviously 1. Okay? So therefore, simplify na lang natin to. We have here y prime is equivalent sa, okay? So 1/3, lagyan natin muna ditong 1/3. 1/3 of cosine cube root of x. Okay, so x 1/3 raised to the power of 1/3 minus 1. Ito magiging negative 2/3. Tapos meron pa tayong 1 dito. So therefore x, okay, x 1 minus 2/3 yan, no? Plus, copy lang natin to sa sine cube root of x. Okay, simplify pa natin further. Okay, itong 1 minus 2/3, the same thing lang yan sa 1/3. So, therefore, yung sagot natin would become, kasi itong 1 magiging 3 divide 3, no? Or simply 1. Okay? So, ang mangyari niyan, we have here 1/3 x, 1/3, or we can say cube root na lang. Okay? Cube root of x. Okay? Cube root of x, cosine of cube root of x. Okay, gawin ko lang cube root, ha. Hindi yan square root. So, cube root of x. Then dito, we have 3 plus sine cube root of x. Okay? Basically, ito yung magiging sagot natin for this problem. Okay? So, i-box na natin yan. Let's box that. Okay, yan na yung magiging sagot natin for this problem. Check ko lang ulit yung system. Okay naman so far. Okay? So, problem number 3 tayo, class. So, okay, sorry. For problem number 3, a particle moves on a line away from its initial position so that after t hours, it is s equivalent sa 3t square plus 1 miles from its initial position. So, s is basically a function of time. S is the position or the distance, then t is the time. Now, we need to find the instantaneous velocity at time is equivalent to 1. Meaning to say, this is 1 second. Okay? 1 second, or hindi kasi nalagay, no? Yung, I think this is 1 hour. Okay? So, lagay natin 1 hour. Kasi naka-miles yan. So, expect that the velocity is naka-miles per hour. Okay? Wala naman sigurong miles per second, no? So, masyadong impossible yan, no? Okay? So, miles per hour tayo. Kasi, for example, 5 miles per second. Grabe naman yung lakas or bilis, di ba? Okay, naka per hour yan, class, ha. So, if you have remember, speed or velocity can be calculated using change of, ano yun, class? Change of distance over change of time, no? Over change of time. In calculus, velocity or denoted as v, pwede natin sabihin, can be calculated using change of distance, that is the same thing as change of ds, okay, ds. Since s is distance or position, then change of time, that is dt. So, in other words, yung instantaneous velocity pala or simply velocity can be calculated if we get the first derivative of our position with respect to time. So, that is the time rate of position. Since we now have, okay, since we have, okay, we have the position as a function of time, then therefore we can simply directly take the derivative of that one. So, that is 3t squared plus 1. Okay, derive lang natin yan with respect to time or t. So, yung derivative nito, okay, 3t squared magiging 6t yan, plus the derivative of 1 is 0. So, therefore, yung velocity pala natin is 6t. Now, at time is 1 hour, okay, therefore, yung velocity pala natin would be equivalent sa 6 times 1, or that is, yung velocity natin is 6, and the unit of this one is miles per hour. So, yung sagot dito will be this one. Okay? I-box lang natin. Actually, pwede na rin natin gawin is gawa tayo dito ng box. Gawa tayo ng box. Lagay natin dito. Okay? The same thing lang yan. Para mas maganda. Okay, yan yung sagot natin for this problem. Okay? Now, proceed tayo dito sa next problem. Okay, this is the problem number 4 for our review problem number 3, no? This is problem number 4. So, dito, kukunin natin yung inflection points of the function. If you have remember, yung inflection point class, okay, I'll just try to recall muna ha. Yung inflection point are points that are points on a curve that changes the concavity of the curve or changes the increasing or decreasing interval of the curve. For example, meron tayong ganitong curve. Okay, for example, meron tayong ganitong curve. So, at this, so gawa tayo ng parang interval niya, no? So, if this is our number line, okay, gawa tayo ng number line. Ito. This is our number line. Seemingly, meron tayong itong interval na to, tapos itong interval na to, tsaka ito interval na to. Okay, ditong interval, somehow, decreasing yung interval natin dyan. Then, itong interval naman dito, so for example, meron tayong negative 2, ito 0, ito, let's say for example, 3, then so on and so forth. Ayan. Meron tayong magiging apat na intervals. We have here negative infinity, papuntang negative 2. We have negative 2, tapos 0, then 0 to 3, then 3 to positive infinity. Now, as you can observe, negative infinity to negative 2, so increasing yung magiging curve natin. From negative 2 to 0, decreasing yun. From 0 to 3, increasing din ulit. And then, from 3 to infinity, decreasing na naman. So, saan dyan yung point of inflection? Yung point of inflection there is the point where the decreasing and increasing will change. Okay? Basically, that is the lowest point or the highest point where it changes concavity. Okay, sorry. This is the this is the maximum and minimum point. This is the critical points pala ha. Itong green na ginawa ko, this is the critical points pala. Hindi yan yung inflection points ha. Hindi yan yung inflection points. Yung inflection point is again yung point na nag-change yung concavity. Mean to say from a low upper concavity or upward concavity or concave upward, and then nag-change siya to concave downward. So yung point of inflection there will be most likely ito yun. This is the point of inflection. Okay? So kung saan nag-change yung concavity natin. Now itong naka-green, if as I've said, this is the critical points. This is the critical points. Okay, this is the critical point. no? If you have remember, itong critical na point na to, this is what we call the maximum point or the maxima. Itong point na to, since nasa ibaba siya, so that is the minimum point or the minima. Okay? So, yan na yung magiging tawag nito. These are the important na mga definition, no? Yung mga critical points tsaka point of inflection. Again, yung point of inflection, that is the point where the curve changes concavity from concave upward to concave downward or from concave downward to concave upward. Vice versa lang yan. Okay? Now, gagawin natin, to find the point of inflection, we need to find the first derivative. If you have remember, if we will, second derivative pala, if we will be able to get the first derivative of that function and equate that to 0, what we can get is the critical points. Critical point or points. Okay. Now, if we will take the second derivative and equate that to 0, then we will be able to get the inflection point. Okay, inflection point or points. Okay, so yan yung magiging process natin, no, to solve for the inflection point. So dito, ang tanong dito is inflection point. Therefore, kukunin natin yung second derivative. Okay? So, sulat ko lang ulit y is equivalent of x raised to the power of 5/3 and then minus 5x raised to the power of 2/3. Okay? Then, take natin yung first derivative niyan. The first derivative of this one, we can bring down 5/3. And that would have x. And that would give us x. Then 5/3 minus 1 or minus 3/3. That would give us 2/3. Okay? Okay, sulat ko pa. Okay, 5/3 minus 1. Ayan, di ba? Minus 5. Then bring down natin yung 2/3. Then that would give us x. Okay, x 2/3 minus 1. Okay? And then, simplify natin to. Y prime equivalence of 5/3. Then x 5/3 minus 1, as I've said, that is 2/3. Minus 5 times 2, that is 10/3. Then x 2/3 minus 1, that would give us negative 1/3. Okay? That is for our first derivative. Kung i-equate natin to 0, ang makukuha nating sagot are critical points. Okay? Then, for the second derivative, okay, 5/3, you bring down 2/3, and then we have here x, then 2/3, you subtract 1, minus 10/3, you bring down negative 1/3, and then we have here x, then 1/3 minus 1. Okay? So, that is our second derivative. Then, equate natin yan to 0. Yung second derivative natin, equate natin to 0. So, simplify na natin to. We have here 10 times 9, no? X. Itong 2/3 minus 1, that is the same thing as negative 1/3. Then, minus, ito, magiging positive na pala. Negative times negative, magiging positive. 10/9. And then, we have here x, that is negative 1/3 minus 3/3, or that is negative 4/3. Okay, what we can do now is to factor out itong 10/9, no? 10/9. And then, obviously, we can also factor out negative x tapos negative 1/3, I guess. So, that would give us 1, then plus, ito, if we will be factoring out x dito ba? Dito, okay? Sabihin natin dito is x negative 4/3. Diba? This is the same thing as x negative 1/3 plus x negative 1. Tama ba? Para makuha natin itong x negative 1/3, no? Sorry. This is multiplied pala. X negative 1. Yan, no? Tama ba? So, kung i-factor out natin yung x 1/3, anong matitira? So, ito na lang. X negative 1. So, this would become equal to x negative 1. Okay? So, paano ba natin gusto natin gawin itong positive. So, paano ba natin yan gagawin? So, another thing, we can also Aside from negative 1/3, okay, pwede naman din gawin natin is i-factor out natin yung pinaka, okay, para sa mga exponent na negative, you listen class ha, para sa mga exponent na negative, kung i-factor out mo yan, yung pinaka malaking value, no, pinaka malaking value when it comes to numerical value, wag niyo lang intindihin yung negative. Of course, itong negative 4/3, kasi negative yan, that is, ano no, mas malaking, mas lesser yung value niyan kasi negative. Okay, so yung numerical value lang tinitingnan natin. So between 1/3 and 4/3, yung 4/3 yung mas malaking value. So yan yung i-factor out natin. Okay? So that ang mangyari nito, ito hindi na yan magiging equivalent sa 1, no? Kasi itong x raised to the power of 1/3, pwede natin sabihin, okay? Kung i-express natin yan, isang factor niyan is negative, x raised to the power of negative 4/3. Ang mangyayari niyan, x negative 4/3, no? Paano ba tayo magkakaroon ng negative 1/3? Ano bang i-multiply natin dito? Okay, anong exponent i-multiply natin dito? So we have your x, tapos anong exponent dito? Para magkaroon tayo ng 1/3. Di ba 1? Kasi 1 minus 1 plus, okay, negative 4/3 plus 1, magiging negative 1/3 yan. So, kung i-factor out natin ito, anong matitira? X. Okay, so x dito. Kuha nyo ba? Plus, since same lang ito lahat, ito. No? So, that is equivalent sa 1. So, ito yung mas okay na pagpa-factor out. Kasi hindi na tayo nagkaroon dito ng negative 1 na exponent. So, ito, kung i-cross multiply mo yan dito, diba? That is equivalent pa rin sa 0. So, x negative 4/3. Tapos, we have here x plus 1. So, kukunin lang natin yung roots. Okay, definition ng roots, diba? That is the values of x that will make our function 0. So, we have here x raised to the power of negative 4/3. Ito, equate natin sa 0. Therefore, obviously, x is equivalent to 0. And then, for the next one, we have here x plus 1. Equate natin sa 0. Therefore, yung x natin would be negative 1. So, these are our points, no? Pero, itetest pa natin kung totoo ba na these are the points of inflection. Paano natin yan itetest? Using the second derivative test. Okay, using second derivative test. Using second derivative test. So, gagamitan natin yan ng second derivative test. So, paano ba yan, class? So, kunin lang natin yung second derivative. Ano yung second derivative? Okay. Saan na yung second derivative natin? Ito yun, di ba? So, basically, ito yung second derivative natin, no? So, copy ko na lang to, class. Okay. Tingnan natin ano yung magiging value ng curve natin, no? So, hold on. Okay. So, this is our y double prime. Tama ba? So, gawin ko lang to, sulat ko lang to saglit. Okay? Sandali lang, class, ha? Kasi gagamitin natin to, no? X negative 1/3 plus 10 over 9 x negative 2/3. And gagamitin natin yan, no? Pero, una, yung ipa-plug in natin ng mga values dito is hindi yung points of inflection. Kasi, ang gagawin natin is to test if whether these are the points of inflection. So, paano natin gagawin yan, no? Paano natin gagawin? Anong values pala ang ipa-plug in natin dito sa ating second derivative, no? Ang ipa-plug in natin dito is yung mga values ng critical points. You plug in the critical points. So, meaning to say, babalik pala tayo dun sa first derivative natin. Ito yung first derivative natin, tama ba? So, i-copy ko lang to, class. Ito yung first derivative natin. Okay, paano natin kukunin yung critical points nito? Okay. Hold on, na. Okay, actually, pwede na pala dito ang ano, no? Okay, sa critical points, pwede na hindi kunin yung critical points dito. Okay, using second derivative test pala tayo, no? So, gawa lang tayo ng number line. Okay, mag-plug in tayo ng, instead of critical points, sabihin lang natin test values. Okay, mag-plug in tayo ng test values. Okay, so isulat natin yun sa number line, yung ating nakuha ang inflection points. So, yung mga points pala, hindi pa natin sabihin na inflection points na yun, no? So, we have here 0, tsaka negative 1. Okay? 0, tsaka negative 1. So, mag-test tayo ng ano bang intervals ang makukuha natin dito, class. We have here the negative infinity to negative 1. That is the first interval. Then, negative 1 to 0. And then, lastly, we have 0 to positive infinity. So, magkuha lang tayo ng mga test values dito. Pwede natin sabihin, pwede natin gamitin is negative 8. Okay, negative 8. Dito, pwede natin gawin negative 1 half. Then, dito, pwede natin sabihin 8. Okay? So, yan yung ipa-plug in natin. Ipa-plug in natin dito sa ating saan natin ipa-plug in yan? Dito sa ating second derivative. Okay? So, for the second derivative, okay, isulat ko na lang siguro sa calculator, ha. So, sulat natin yung 10 divide 9 x raised to the power of negative 1 over 3, okay, plus 10 over 9, that is x raised to the power of negative 2 thirds. Okay? Okay, yan yung ano natin, di ba? Second derivative. So, calc lang tayo. Calc negative 8. Negative 8. So, yung nakuha natin dito, yun sa second derivative, tapos negative 8 yung gagamitin nating x, nakuha natin is negative value. Okay? So, sabihin natin lesser than 0. Okay, kapag lesser than 0, meaning to say, ditong part na to is, ano tawag dito? Concave upward. Ay, downward. Negative kasi. So, ang mangyayari niyan, parang ganito yung graph niya. Concave upward. Okay? Concave upward yan. Okay, concave upward. Sabihin natin ganito. So, ito yung 1, negative 1, no? Negative 1. Then, test naman natin sa negative 1 half. Same pa rin yung second derivative natin. Calc natin, negative 1 over 2 or divide 2. So, yung sagot dito is positive. So, yung y double prime na negative 1 half greater than 0. Positive pala. So, mangyayari niyan, parang ganito yung mangyayari niyan, no? Concave upward yan. Concave upward. Ganyan. Then lastly, itong 0, any values papuntang positive infinity. So, gawin natin, that is calc. So, gawa tayo ng 8. Okay, so that is positive also. So, yung y double prime of 8 pala is also positive. So, ano mangyayari niyan? So, parang na ganito yung graph natin. Concave upward, tapos concave upward pa rin. So, pwede ba yan? So, ilang points of inflection pala nandito? Kasi, parehas itong positive, positive. So, mean to say, wala tayong expect na, ano dito, no? Wala tayong expect na inflection point. So, yung inflection point lang pala is itong negative 1. So, itong 0, hindi yan matatawag natin na inflection point. Kasi, parehas na positive yan dito. So, mean to say, concave up, lahat lang yan, no? So, wala siyang inflection point. Remember, yung inflection point, it changes the concavity from downward to upward or from upward to downward. So, yung possible lang na inflection point is yung nandito, which is yung negative 1. Okay? Since ang tanong dito sa problem is, okay, find the inflection point or inflection points. So, yung x value pala natin is negative 1. For inflection point, isa lang, no? For inflection point, yung value ng ating x is negative 1. Saan naman natin kukunin yung value ng x, ng y? Kasi points kailangan naka x and y coordinate. So, negative 1 yung x. So, saan natin kukunin yung value ng y? Balik tayo dito sa main function. From the main function, y equivalent sa, okay, yung main function niya. Yung main function niya, x raised to the power of 5 thirds, okay, minus 5x 2 thirds. Tama ba? Okay, 2 thirds. Okay, ano ba yung magiging point of inflection natin? So, kukunin natin yung y value when x is equivalent to negative 1. Okay? So, this is equivalent sa. So, lagay lang natin sa calculator, no? Para mas madali. So, we have here alpha x raised to the power of 5 thirds. Okay? And then, minus 5 x raised to the power of 2/3. Then calc tayo, negative 1 daw yung x natin. So, ang sagot dyan is negative 6. So, yung y pala natin is negative 6. So, yung inflection point pala natin is negative 1, negative 6. Ito na yung magiging sagot natin for this problem. Okay, gawa lang tayo ng box. So, yan na yung magiging inflection point natin. So, yan yung magiging sagot natin for this problem. Okay, ito lang, inflection point. Isa lang yung magiging inflection point niyan. Last problem for the day. A lighthouse is located on an island 5 kilometers away from the nearest point P on a straight shoreline. And the light makes 6 revolutions per minute. How fast is the beam of light moving along the shore when it's 2 kilometers from point P? So, paano natin to isa-solve, class? So, gawa tayo ng lighthouse. Gagawin natin, we are viewing the lighthouse from the space, kumbaga. So, meron tayong shoreline. Okay, pagpalagay natin, ito yung shoreline natin. So, dyan tayo, ito, dito, bodies of water na to, no? Water na to dito. Ito yung parang shore. Ito yung shore. Okay. Then, this is the, kumbaga, this is the island. A lighthouse is located, okay, meron tayong island pala dito. Okay, island to. Okay, pagpalagay natin yan, island. And then, dito, meron tayong lighthouse. Okay, ito yung lighthouse natin, ha. So, sabi daw, from the shoreline, the lighthouse, okay, is located 5 kilometers, okay, away from the nearest point P on the straight shoreline. Ito yung straight shoreline. Okay, ang nearest point ng ating ito yun. So, sabihin natin to, this is point P. Okay, that is the nearest point to the island. Okay, yung light dito, okay, move ko lang ito saglit. Yung light dito, okay, yung light dito is revolving 6 revolutions per minute. Okay, yan yun. Di ba yung revolving, okay, pwede natin sabihin dyan is, yan yung d theta over dt. That is the change of theta or rotation with respect to time. And sabi dyan, that is 6 revolutions per minute. Okay. Yung revolution, i-convert pa natin yan into radians, no? Okay. Sa isang revolution, sa isang ikot, that is 2 pi radian. Okay. If you remember. Cancel yung revolution, and that is 12 pi radians per minute. So, yan yung parang d theta natin over dt. Okay? Ng ating lighthouse. And then, how fast is the beam of light moving along the shore when it's 2 kilometers from point P? So, at the instant na yung light doon natin is nandito na daw, and that is said to be 2 kilometers daw away from point P. So, ito na yun, no? Okay. Sorry. Ito na yun. That is 2 kilometers away from point P. Okay? So, magkakaroon tayo dito ng parang angle. No? Angle dyan. So, gaano daw ito ka, or, sorry, gawa tayo ng straight na shoreline. So, ang tanong dito is, gaano daw itong beam natin, how fast is the beam moving? So, sabihin na lang natin na, sorry class, I don't know bakit ganito yung pen ko. Okay, sabihin na lang natin na this part right here is x. So, basically, kukunin natin is yung dx over dt. So, how fast is the beam of light moving along the shoreline? Kasi ito yung shoreline, so, nagmo-move yung light natin along that shoreline. So, gaano daw ka-fast? So, I mean to say, that is, pwede natin sabihin that is x. So, dx over dt yung hahanapin natin pala, no? So, as you can observe, naka-create tayo dito ng parang isang triangle. Okay? Ganitong triangle. So, we have here the 5 kilometers triangle, and we have here theta, and ito yung x. So, yung 5, sinulat natin as 5 because that is a constant. So, therefore, what we can use here is yung tangent of theta. Tangent of theta is equivalent sa opposite, which is yung x natin, over yung adjacent, which is 5. So, ang gagawin na natin is to solve for the value of tan theta. Okay? Tan theta. Yung dx over dt pala. But first, we need to solve for the value of theta. Kasi itong, kung i-derive natin to directly, okay, derive natin to with respect to time because this is time rate na problem. Okay, ang mangyayari niyan, yung derivative ng tan theta, di ba, yung derivative ng tan is secant squared theta. And we have here d theta over dt. And that is equivalent sa 1/5 of dx over dt. Kasi yung derivative ng x with respect to time, that is dx over dt. So, ito yung tanong. Meron na tayong value nito, pero yung theta, wala pa tayong value niya, no? So, saan natin kukunin yung theta? At the instant na yung x natin is 2 kilometers. So, gawa tayo ulit ng parang triangle. Same lang triangle niyan, no? So, this is, kukunin natin yung value ng theta. So, this is 5, this is 2. Kukunin natin yung value ng theta. Anong gagamitin natin? Same pa rin. Tangent theta is equivalent to opposite, which is 2 over adjacent 5. So, yung tangent theta pala is arctan of 2 over 5. So, ano yung value makukuha natin dito? So, we have here, pwede lang Japan degrees yan, class, arctan. So, makukuha nating value dito is naka-degrees, And that is equivalent sa 21.8 degrees. Okay, 21.8 degrees. Yan pala yung theta natin at the instant na yung beam of light natin is nasa 2 kilometers away from point P. So, therefore, ito yung gagamitin natin na value dito. So, we have, di ba itong secant squared theta, the same thing lang yan as cosine. No? Cosine squared theta. At yung theta natin is 21.8. No? Cosine squared theta. Itong d theta over dt, yan na yung 12 pi naka-radians per minute yan. Okay. Ito yung nakuha natin kanina. Ito yun. 12 pi radians per minute. And then, multiply natin, i-cross-multiply natin yung 1/5, magiging 5 na yan dyan. Okay? And that would give us, yung sa right-hand side, we have dx over dt. Ito yung tanong natin. So, therefore, yung dx over dt pala natin would be equivalent sa, okay, i-plug in na natin sa calculator yan. So, unahin natin si 5. 5 to be multiplied by 12 pi radians per minute. At remember, yung 5 is naka-kilometer yan, no? 5 kilometers. So, ang mangyari nito, yung unit natin would be kilometers per minute. Kasi yung radian, unitless yan, no? So, tapos, divide natin by cosine. Cosine 21.8. Then, make sure naka-squared pa yan, ha? So, yung sagot dito is 218 pala. Okay, 218.65. 0.65. At yung unit nito is kilometers per minute. Okay? So, yan na yung magiging sagot natin for this problem. Okay, yan na yung magiging sagot natin for that problem. So, I hope nakuha nyo yung 5 na problems na sinolve natin ngayon, and I hope that makes you prepared for your upcoming final exam. Thank you everyone for listening, and I see you in the next one.